Supreme Question 1. Human beings have been drifting along through constant clash and cohesions amidst endless waves of physical and psychic diversities. It is natural that various questions arise in their minds about their surroundings. None of these questions can be ignored. A question is a kind of psychic hunger. If it goes unanswered, one cannot find any mental rest. The questions whose answers lie latent in the psychic sphere are called apara prashna, or questions pertaining to the relative world. The persistent endeavor to find proper answers to them by probing into the psychic realm is called material science, yada vijnana. Human beings have been striving to gain more knowledge about the relative world, whose objects come within the periphery of the unit mind, through scientific advancement. Moreover, on the human structure grows in complexity. The human capacity to answer to questions also increases. Thus, this increased capacity to find answers to mundane questions necessarily cause the expansion of mind. Some renowned scientists have harmed society to such an extent that they can best be described as demons in human form. In order to expand the psychic arena, one will have to accept an entity beyond the psychic arena as one's goal. This persistent endeavor will bring about actual psychic development, culminating in the attainment of Brahma. Any question which concerns the attempt to attain Brahma is called the Supreme Question, or Parama Prashna. The internal and external ideas of the unit mind can be understood from the following anecdote. Suppose you want to know what is lying in a particular corner of a particular house in Bhatia, a town you are quite familiar with. The quest for this type of knowledge is called apara prashna, for it concerns the relative world. The answer one receives is aparuttara, for it concerns the relative world. The answer one receives is aparuttara, and the attempt to fulfill the desire to know is the pursuit of science. When you come to know everything there is to know about Bhatia, you will still know nothing about Motihari town. If your psychic arena is likened to Bhatia, then to know Motihara town, you will have to expand your psychic arena. Now, if we call the desire to know Motihari town Parama Prashna, then the acquisition of knowledge about Motihari town is Paramuttara, the supreme answer. In this case, the effort to know Motihara Hari can be called spiritual pursuit. Brahma is beyond the periphery of unit mind, so any question regarding Brahma is Parama Prashna. The attainment of Brahma is Paramuttara, and the endeavor to attain Brahma is spiritual practice. Both types of knowledge, para, absolute knowledge, and apara, relative knowledge, operate within unit mind simultaneously. Hence, any question regarding either para and apara which arises in the human mind should not be ignored. But in this discourse, I would like to discuss Parama Prashna, the supreme question. The process of preparing rice from paddy comes within the scope of material science, and is thus a part of aparavidya. But the question as to why rice was created in the first place is Parama Prashna, and comes within the domain of Paravidya, because the source from which it has emerged lies outside the domain of Paravidya. One moment. The process of preparing rice from paddy comes within the scope of material science, and is thus a part of Paravidya. But the question as to why rice was created in the first place is Paramaprajna and comes within the domain of Paravidya, because the source from which it has emerged lies outside the periphery of Pari. The question who has infused the potentiality in rice and why is also beyond the psychic arena, and hence Paramaprajna too. When the shadow of the moon is reflected on the earth, a lunar eclipse occurs. This is a scientific fact. Through the science of astronomy, human beings have discovered the reasons for an eclipse. Astronomy is part of Aparavidya, but who is the entity who causes the moon